Part 4, Teachings and Core Philosophy of Mahavira 4. 1. The essence of Mahavira's teachings. Mahavira's teachings laid the foundation of Jain philosophy, which focuses on liberation of the soul through self-discipline, ethical living without harming any living being, detachment from material possessions and desires, experiential realization through meditation and austerity. He emphasized that truth cannot be imposed but must be discovered through inner purification and self-effort. 4. Satya, truthfulness, speaking only what is true and beneficial. Asteya, non-stealing, not taking anything that is not freely given. 4. Brahmacharya, celibacy, total chastity for monks and faithfulness for householders. 5. Aparigraha, non-possession, renunciation of attachment to material and emotional possessions. These vows are the spiritual cornerstone for both monks in their full form and lay people in limited form. 4.4. The doctrine of karma. Mahavira taught a detailed law of karma that differs from Hindu and Buddhist views. Karma is a real physical substance that clings to the soul due to passions and actions. Every thought, word, or action binds karma to the soul. Liberation occurs only when all karmas are completely burned away. Hence, ethical conduct, pure thoughts, and austerity are key tools for karmic cleansing. 4. Pits Anikantavada, the doctrine of non-absolutism. One of Mahavira's most profound teachings is Anikantavada, non-one-sidedness. Reality is complex and has multiple aspects. No single perspective can fully capture the whole truth. Tolerance of differing viewpoints is essential for wisdom. This led to the Jain practice of using the word shyad, perhaps maybe when making philosophical statements, showing humility and openness. 4. To explain Anikantavada, Jain philosophers developed Syadvada, the doctrine of conditional viewpoints. Any truth can be expressed in 7 logical ways, each valid from a certain standpoint. 1. Shadasti, perhaps it is 2. Shadnasti, perhaps it is not 3. Shadasti nasti, perhaps it is and it is not. 4. Shadasti avaktavya, perhaps it is and indescribable. 5. Shadnasti avaktavya, perhaps it is not and indescribable. 6. Shadasti nasti avaktavya, perhaps it is not and indescribable. 7. Shadavaktavya, perhaps it is indescribable. This fosters intellectual humility, dialogue, and tolerance, core values in Jain Dharma. 4. Jain view of liberation, moksha. According to Mahavira, every soul is capable of becoming liberated, siddha. Liberation means complete freedom from rebirth, pain, and karma. A liberated soul rises to the siddha shila, the realm of perfect beings. This state is eternal, blissful, and motionless beyond all worldly limitations. Part 5. The 5 Great Vows and Ethical Discipline in Jainism. Point 1. Introduction to Mahavratas. The ethical foundation of Jainism rests on 5 great vows, Mahavratas, as preached by Mahavira. These vows are universal principles that guide both monks and lay people toward spiritual growth, karmic purification, and ultimately liberation, moksha. The vows are stricter for ascetics and adapted for householders, anuvratas, lesser vows. 5.2 Ahimsa, non-violence. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the supreme religion. This is the central pillar of Jain ethics. It includes non-violence in thought, word, and deed. It applies to all forms of life, from tiny microbes to large animals. Jains avoid harming any creature, including dietary restrictions, vegetarianism, filtering water, avoiding root vegetables, and walking carefully to avoid stepping on insects. This vow gave rise to compassion, tolerance, and eco-consciousness in Jain society. 5.3 Satya, truthfulness. Always speak the truth, but do not harm others through harsh words. Truth must be uttered with compassion, modesty, and discretion. Lying, gossip, or misleading speech binds karma to the soul. Jain monks and nuns observe total silence mauna, at times to avoid unintended falsehoods. 5.4 Asteya, non-stealing. First, for Asteya, non-stealing, one must not take anything that is not freely offered. Even the thought of stealing or desire for unjust gain leads to karmic bondage. Honesty and purity of means are central to Jain conduct. For monks, this includes not possessing or using items not explicitly given. 5.5 Brahmacharya, celibacy, chastity. Monks and nuns follow absolute celibacy, refraining from all sensual pleasures. Householders practice faithfulness, modesty, and control over desires. Sensuality is seen as a major cause of karmic bondage and spiritual downfall. Celibacy strengthens detachment and inner discipline. 5. Aparigraha, non-possession, non-attachment, letting go of attachment to material things, people, emotions, and even opinions. Jains believe possession fuels greed, ego, violence, and conflict. True spiritual growth happens when the soul is free from clinging. Monks practice this vow to the fullest, owning nothing, even clothing, in the Digambara tradition. 5. Septi Anuvratas, vows for householders. While the Mahavratas are absolute for monks, householders are encouraged to follow Anuvratas, lesser vows with some flexibility, partial non-violence, e.g., not killing knowingly, truthfulness with tact, not stealing and living ethically, controlled celibacy, limiting possessions and desires. These help common people progress spiritually while living in the world. 5.8 Supplementary vows. Jain householders also take additional vows to enhance their practice. Gunavratas, vows that enhance Anuvratas, e.g., limiting travel or consumption. Shiksavratas, vows of discipline, self-study, fasting, and charity. Salakana, peaceful voluntary death through fasting when death is near, practiced with detachment and awareness. These vows create a path of self-restraint, ethical clarity, and spiritual awareness, forming the moral backbone of Jain life. Part 6. The Jain Sangha. Monks, nuns, lay people, and community life. 6. 1. The Fourfold Sangha. Chaturveda Sangha. Mahavira, after attaining omniscience, Keval Jnana, organized his followers into a fourfold community called the Chaturveda Sangha, consisting of 1. Muni, monks. 2. Arika or Sadhvi nuns. 3. Shravaka, laymen. Shravika, laywomen. This structure allowed both ascetics and householders to engage with the Jain path in different capacities. 6.2 Life of Jain monks and nuns. Jain monks and nuns live by the Mahavratas, great vows, with utmost discipline and intensity. Key features of their lives: renunciation of all possessions, including clothing, for Digambaras, begging for food, never preparing or storing it, walking barefoot, traveling constantly, extreme care not to harm any life form, even microscopic, daily study, meditation, and teaching. Silence, humility, and detachment are central virtues. Monastics serve as spiritual guides and role models for lay people. 6. 3 lay followers, Shravaka and Shravika. Lay Jains commit to following the Anuvratas, lesser vows, supporting the monastic community with food, shelter, and care, participating in rituals, festivals, and religious discussions, observing fasts, penance, and study, contributing to charity and community welfare. Lay people are essential in preserving Jain scriptures, temples, and education. 6.4 Jain temples and religious centers. Mahavira encouraged spiritual practice in quiet, meditative places. Over time, temples and pilgrimage sites developed, housing idols of Tirthankaras. Temples are spaces for meditation and prayer. Rituals like puja, abhiseka, ritual bathing of idols, festivals and sermons, charity work and education. Famous temples include Shravanabelagola, Palitana, Ranakpur, and Mount Abu. 6.5 Daily practices and rituals. Common spiritual practices for Jains include Pratikraman, daily reflection, confession and repentance. Samayika, practicing equanimity through meditation. Puja and Arti, devotional acts to honor Tirthankaras. Swadhyaya, self-study of scriptures. Fasting and penance, especially during festivals like Paryushan. These practices help purify the mind and reduce karmic influence. 6.6 Festivals and celebrations. Jains celebrate a variety of religious events, the most important being Mahavira Jayanti, birth anniversary of Mahavira, Paryushan and Daslakshan, 8 10-day festivals of spiritual purification. Diwali commemorates Mahavira's Nirvana, final liberation. Kartika Purnima, Akshaya Tritiya, and others. These festivals focus on introspection, fasting, forgiveness, and spiritual renewal. 6.7 Women in Jainism. Mahavira allowed full participation of women in the spiritual path. Jainism recognizes the spiritual equality of all souls regardless of gender. Many women became nuns, sadhus, and scholars. Jain texts mention numerous female ascetics who attained liberation. Lay women play vital roles in home rituals, charity, and temple life. 6.8. Ahimsa in daily life. Mahavira's teachings influenced not only Jain society but also Indian culture through vegetarianism and animal welfare, non-violent economy, e.g., trade without exploitation, environmentalism, and minimalism, movements for peace, harmony, and tolerance. The Jain Sangha continues to preserve the ancient values of Mahavira, adapting them to modern life without compromising core principles. Part 7. Mahavira's Nirvana and Legacy in Indian and World History. 7.1. Mahavira's Final Days. According to Jain tradition, Mahavira attained Keval Jnana, omniscience, at the age of 42 and spent the next 30 years traveling, preaching, and guiding countless followers. He passed away, attained Nirvana, at the age of 72 in Pavapuri, Bihar. His death occurred on Diwali Day, a day now celebrated by Jains as the Night of Liberation. After his moksha, his soul reached Siddha Shila, the realm of liberated souls, free from karma and rebirth. 7.2. Succession and Jain Scriptures. After Mahavira's Nirvana, his disciples preserved and carried forward his teachings. His chief disciple was Gautama Ganadhara, who played a major role in organizing the Jain canon. These teachings were orally transmitted and later written in Prakrit, Ardhamagadi, and other regional languages. The Jain Agamas, compiled centuries later, reflect the essence of Mahavira's original message. Different Jain sects, Svetambara and Digambara, have variations in scripture and interpretation, but both revere Mahavira as the last and greatest Tirthankara. 7.3. Spread of Jainism in ancient India. After Mahavira's death, Jainism spread across various regions of India. It gained stronghold in Magadha, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu. Kings like Chandragupta Maurya, under the influence of Jain monk Bhadrabahu, adopted Jainism and promoted non-violence. Jain temples and art flourished, especially during the rule of Western Ganga, Rashtrakuta, and Chalukya dynasties. Jain monks and scholars contributed to mathematics, astronomy, logic, philosophy, and literature. 7.4. Mahavira's ethical legacy. The values taught by Mahavira, Ahimsa, Satya, Aparigraha, and tolerance, left a lasting impact on Indian and global thought. His principle of Ahimsa was a major influence on Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. The idea of spiritual equality and personal responsibility became core to Indian ethical systems. His teachings continue to inspire vegetarianism, animal rights, and ecological consciousness. 7. 5 Jain contributions to art, architecture, and culture. Jain communities inspired by Mahavira's teachings produced rich cultural and spiritual heritage. Architectural marvels like Shravanabelagola, Palitana, Mount Abu, Dilwara temples, and Khajuraho Jain temples, manuscript preservation including illustrated Jain texts in libraries, Bhandaras, patronage of Prakrit and Sanskrit, literature, poetry, logic, and grammar, contributions to medieval Indian philosophy, dialogue, and religious tolerance. 7.6 Jainism in modern times. Today, Jainism is a minority religion with millions of followers primarily in India, and also in the United States, Canada, the UK, East Africa, and Australia. Modern Jain leaders continue to promote nonviolence, compassion, and spiritual purity. Jainism supports animal welfare, veganism, environmental sustainability, and humanitarian aid. Jain scholars are active in academia, science, business, and philosophy worldwide. Festivals like Paryushan, Mahavir Jayanti, and Diwali bring the global Jain community together in reflection, service, and celebration. 7.7 Mahavira in comparative religion. Mahavira's life and philosophy share similarities with other spiritual paths. Mahavira's legacy transcends religious boundaries, offering a universal spiritual message rooted in peace and self-realization. 7. Conclusion: the eternal flame of Mahavira's Dharma. Mahavira's life was not about miracles or divine interventions. It was about personal effort, inner transformation, and non-harming. He taught that truth is within, and it can be realized through discipline and self-awareness. His philosophy continues to serve as a beacon of spiritual integrity, offering practical tools for peace, liberation, and ethical living. In a world filled with conflict and materialism, Mahavira's message remains timeless. Live simply, harm none, and purify the soul. Conclusion: Life of Mahavira. The life of Lord Mahavira stands as a timeless beacon of spiritual awakening, non-violence, and inner discipline. Born into royalty, he renounced worldly pleasures in pursuit of truth and liberation. Through intense meditation, self-control, and compassion, Mahavira attained Keval Jnana, omniscience, and showed humanity the path to Moksha, liberation. His teachings, centered on Ahimsa, Satya, Aparigraha, Asteya, and Brahmacharya,